following on from your comment about Steve Jobs, could there be an O'Reilly Media without Tim O'Reilly? God forbid you fell under a bus as you left. Is the presiding vision intelligence still wrapped up with you as an individual?
You know, it's kind of interesting because that is, I think, one of the big challenges for a company that's as idiosyncratic as mine. And it's something that we're engaged in. And it is certainly true that I and my partner Dale Doherty have been kind of the crazy guys who are always coming up with the new ideas. Dale's the guy behind Make Magazine. He was the one who also started GNN, the Global Navigator, that first web portal. In a sense that he's also the guy who coined the term Web 2.0, even though it was wrapped around ideas I've been pushing. I was calling it the Internet Operating System, and Web 2.0 sort of was a better name, at least for the time. It hasn't aged as well. Now he really is getting, oh yeah, it is an Internet Operating System. Tim was right. But yeah, it is a challenge. And what's really been great is I have a super Chief Operating Officer, Laura Baldwin, who used to be at Chronicle Books and knows publishing inside and out, and has really taken over the day-to-day reins of running the business. And we basically, put together a team. My blog is the O'Reilly Radar. You basically see there's a lot of people there. We've kind of tried to replace me and Dale with a bunch of people who are out there connected to the technology, connected into the future. And we have different people. Andrew Savickas, who runs our digital publishing. Many of you know, Andrew's really built our electronic publishing business.
Can I just finish one of your thoughts there? You say that all those years ago, the things that became outgrowths, like conferences, seemed natural. And at the time, and obviously the world has changed a great deal, are those outgrowths now absolutely necessary for publishing? Do you think? Is it possible to succeed in a purely narrow way as a traditional book publisher, given the way the world has changed? Are the outgrowths necessary as well as natural?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think any of us do. I will say that what is necessary is to go back and back and back to what it is you really do. Because if you're, that's the other thing I think is wrong. We define publishing as people who put words onto paper, bind them, and sell them through bookstores, and that was for the longest time, that was the definition of a publisher. And yet, if you publish cookbooks versus you publish novels versus you publish, some you're in a completely different business, and those are going to be transformed in different ways. You look at Rand McNally, who's knocked out by things like MapQuest and Google Maps. Or Encyclopedia Britannica, knocked out by Google and Wikipedia. They were actually not in the same business as St. Martin, say. And if you understand, for example, if you're a publisher of fiction, you have to say, wow, we really are in the business of helping people. Again, depending on the kind of fiction, might be we're in the business of helping people pass the time, or we're in the business of helping people think more deeply about the world through storytelling, or we're in the business of finding and curating people who are able to inspire and expand people's horizons. There's all kinds of ways that you can think about your business, and if you really believe that, as opposed to just do it in some kind of management exercise, of course you'll want to do something different. If I were in, say, publishing business books, I would also be in the seminar business, because of course, you're saying, oh yeah, what do people want? They want to learn how to run a better business. And I'm in the business of helping them to do that. And you go, well, what else could I do? And of course, so you look at people like Stephen Covey, and of course, he's in the publishing business, he's in the seminar business, he's in various kinds of management aids of various kinds. And because he knows what his business really is. It isn't about, he was never a publisher per se, or just an author.
I'm sure a lot of these things we're going to come back to them in questions. But I'd just like to change track a little bit, if I may, and pick up a theme that I've noticed in your writing a lot recently, which is this thing you talk about there being a war to control the web or the internet right now.
Yeah.
You seem to be very concerned about the emergence of monopolies.
Yeah.
About very large companies, giants as you call them, the familiar faces, Facebook, Apple, Google, dominating what you call these points of control in the internet. This is coming up as a theme, I think, in the Web 2.0 summit particularly. And these points of control, they're various, and you talk about them, advertising, location services, content distribution, marketing, and so on. For publishers in the audience, ought they to care about any of this, Tim? Is it in any sense a threat or an opportunity if they see themselves as insurgents rather than established players in the world?
I think it depends. Certainly the battle, say, between Google and Apple for access to mobile. That's one of those points of control. For example, if the iPhone became the dominant smartphone platform in the way that Windows became the dominant PC operating system, Google would be seriously disadvantaged in the same way that companies were disadvantaged by Microsoft because they controlled the paths, so to speak, to the user. And that was why Google had to do Android. They basically said we can't have our whole existence be gatewayed by somebody else on the front end. And so that's an example of a strategic battle for control. That one doesn't really affect publishers, I don't think. I mean, it could potentially, if one player ever becomes dominant, then what happens over time is their natural growth slows, and then they start eating the ecosystem. My sense of the general sort of cycle of innovation is you start out with some game-changing innovation that rewrites all the rules, is a real open playing field. Over a period of time, some people win, and they start to close down innovation. Almost everything I think about in the evolution of technology is just watching the rerun of what happened in the PC industry. So like, and so saying, oh yeah, it's kind of happening again, or how is it going to happen again? What are the sources of lock-in? How do they shift? And so on. And so the reason I've been trying to talk about that topic is primarily, well, first of all, to encourage the companies themselves, because I think some of the companies, Google in particular, I think is sympathetic to the idea that they have to keep a vibrant ecosystem and they don't want to consume that ecosystem. But I see it's easy for people to become blind to that, and I was just talking with Eric Schmidt 2 weeks ago, and just saying, hey, don't be evil isn't a good enough mantra for you guys. You should adopt the one I've been using, which is create more value than you capture. Because in the old days, it was real clear, Google sending value out to everybody. And now what you see is Google trading more and more for their own account, just like the financial services firms did here in New York. It's like, hey, we'll have a page for that. And instead of going off to somebody else's page, you come to the Google page and you go, wow, you guys understand where that trend leads. And
how do you respond to them?
I think they've got the wrong metric, because they're kind of saying, well, we ask ourselves, does the user benefit? And I don't think that's good enough, because yes, say a Google Place page may be better than a Yelp page, and it may have more value, but at the end of the day, if you close off some part of the ecosystem, eventually it won't be better for the user.